howdy all you collector car fans out there. This is Jason, the owner and founder of Southern Bush Motorsports. And boy, yeah, do I got a really cool Tales from the Bush for you today. Look at that crusty old Superbird. So let's take me on a road trip all the way up into the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. West Virginia, I think. Now, I'll tell you what, I was up in the area with some other stuff a month before, and this guy caught wind at a diner of what I had done and how I had helped some people out. And always brought cash because farmers don't want checks, so they hear the whole cash train coming through. And this guy called me and said that he'd been doing this for 40 years and he wanted to retire. And I asked him what he had. He said he had a few cars in the building. Look at that. Look at that car right there. 69.5 lift-off hood car. You can barely see all the cars in behind it. So here's the story. I got out there, and unfortunately, a lot of these pictures it was such a long, I was out there for 2 months pulling these cars out of this building. This guy had stuck 84 cars in a cavern that he had dug into the side of this mountain. I kid you not. It wasn't like a bomb shelter. He just kept digging in with a tractor, a really low tractor, and it just, from the outside of it, it looked like just an entrance. And you can see the Superbird here was rough because the car had been in there for 30-something years, almost 40 years. But he had dug this massive cavern into the side of this mountain and kept putting wood supports in and building ceilings and all that. He had 84 cars in this cavern. Now, you want to talk about a cars and barns? Forget it. Let's talk about a cars in caverns or cave, whatever you want to call it. This was absolutely insane. I planned on being out here for maybe a couple days. I had to spend 2 months out there. And there's a reason for that. Because in this cavern, the guy had, I wish there was more pictures. I just can't find the other page, but you can see a lot of cool stuff here. He had two Superbirds. This one here is a 440 4-speed 6-pack Superbird, completely numbers matching, untouched car. Rough as heck, but that car was untouched, and it was all numbers matching. Some things had been taken off the car and put on the car, but it was all numbers matching. I actually, when I pulled this car out and I listed it, a guy in town had said he'd been chasing this car since he was a little kid, and I finally got the car to him, and he was just ecstatic. But so inside there was two Superbirds, 5 Challenger convertibles, 8 69.5 lift-off hood 6-pack cars. There was 3 Hemi Roadrunners. It was just, the list goes on. And it was just insane. Like you can see, there's the entrance right there. I really apologize. The story's true. I couldn't get any pictures in there. Even with my flashes, I couldn't see anything because there was no electricity in there. It was just pitch black all the way in. But this was about 3 rows deep. So picture this cavern. The cars were, I think, 4 or 6 rows cars wide, and it was like 10 or 12 cars deep. But it was insane. And that's the only open area I had to bring cars out. And I couldn't clear anything else. Yes, that's the Superbird, and yes, there's no engine there, but it is in the trunk. The motor and I think the transmission was still in it. There's a linkage for the 4-speed. But the motor block was in the trunk. And you just look at the interior of that car. The interior's never been out of there. It's rough, but it's never been out of there before. And everything was there. But, getting back with the cars that were in there, he had just kept pushing these cars in with this little tractor that he had. And he had bought them around the town that he lived in. Everybody knew who the guy was, but nobody really liked him. I'm not saying anything bad about him. He knows it. Nobody likes him. Because he was kind of a hermit. Actually, he was quite a big-time hermit. He really never left his property. He had somebody go and get his groceries and stuff for him. He never went into town. All he did was mess around with these cars. But the guy was no dummy. He knew exactly what he was putting away. Why he built this, look at that 4-speed console. Why he built this, I want to call it it was almost like it's like a cave, bomb shelter, tunnel, whatever you want to call it. 69 Roadrunner convertible right there. All these cars were in different stages. That's a 6-pack lift-off hood car beside it. You got a convertible. Untouched. That dash has never been out of that car. But he just kept pulling these cars from around the town and just kept collecting them. And he just got to a point. He's like, you know what? If this guy from Southern Bush, there's a Challenger convertible right behind it. You can see that right there. There's two Challenger convertible. Actually, there was a Cuda convertible and Challenger convertible. It was so much work. It was so much work for one person because I had to learn how to drive this junky old tractor and pull these cars out on my own. He wouldn't help me with anything. He basically just stood by there and said, don't break this, don't wreck that. There's that Roadrunner convertible again. There's a few pictures coming up, or at least one picture you'll be able to see how deep it is. But I wasn't worried about snakes and spiders and stuff when I was in there. That was a separate building. I think that was a Bel Air or something. I wasn't worried about spiders and snakes and stuff when I was in there because I couldn't see anything. It was absolutely pitch black. This was an area outside. He just collected rusted cars. But, I had to take a breather once in a while because, the air was pretty dismal in there. And as you can see, every picture I took was with flash. I had to come out and change batteries so many times, it was crazy. But what a crazy opportunity it was to be inside this cavern, man-made cavern in the side of this mountain, documenting these cars and pulling them out. I ended up selling all the cars that were in there. But you can see this Challenger convertible was probably, look at the rafters. That was probably about 6 rows or 5 rows in. So I was about halfway back for that Challenger convertible. Ain't no Hemi car, but the thing was untouched. Rough. I mean, you can see that block is rough. I don't even know if that block would be savable. But, it was what it was. Look at that. Untouched. Nothing in that car had been touched. Yeah, that was just looked like a 318 convertible, but it still is what it is. And although it looked like a lot of really bad rust on it, the car was pretty solid. That was a Plum Crazy. That was like one of the first cars. You can see the outside there. That was one of the first cars on the entrance. Another Challenger convertible. I believe that's a different one. Like I said, there was about 6 Challenger convertibles in there as far as I can remember. But, let's see, that's, I believe that was the Roadrunner convertible. You can see another car beside. These cars were literally not even 2 inches apart from each other. I don't know how he didn't screw these cars up, putting them in there. But look at how solid that trunk is. These cars were solid. They were rough as heck looking. Really rough, but they were solid cars. Lots of bits and pieces missing off of them, but all of them had original motors. And then there's this weird building. He had this weird building attached to it at the very end. Those are all NOS parts. New old stock parts. I'll tell you, when you're restoring a Mopar or any other old car, this is the kill zone. This is the holy grail of parts. It's ridiculous this guy had kept all this stuff, but he did. He had pulled cars out of a dealership and stuff. There you can see the entrance to it. I know you can't see the mount behind it because the mount is more to the left, but that was the entrance. That was a 71, that was a 6-cylinder Cuda that I pulled out. There's a little Challenger. Look at all the cars in the background. I don't know, some cars he put in the building, the ones he wanted to save, the hypo cars, and the rest he just stuck out back. Look at that car. Yeah, and I think it was a GTX. Just all kinds of these cars all over the place. He just had them sitting out there. So one of the craziest parts of this tale was, in order for him to get all these cars in the building, I mean, look at this Roadrunner out there. A lot of guys would kill for that car. He just had it sitting rotten craw brush out in the back there. But anyways, in order to get some of these cars out of that cavern or cave or whatever you want to call it, he had chained them all together, and front and back had chained them together and used this big push bar on the tractor to push them through. I mean, look at that car just sitting there. What a damn shame, man. And look at it, completely unrestored, nothing missing off the car, just sitting there. I'll get to it one day. God, that gets so old. Look at that thing, sitting on the ground, no wheels. I'll tell you what, a lot of us would just kill to have that car right there. But no, it's just sitting on the field. This was just me walking around the property needing to take a break. He had Mopars all over the place. There's a Charger in the background. It's a 383 Roadrunner right there. Matter of fact, that was an air grabber car, completely untouched. You can see the air grabber kind of on the hood right there. But just Charger in the background there, GTX in front of it. They were all over the place. The ones he stuck in the building are the ones that he wanted to, per se, restore. Look, another air grabber Roadrunner right there. You can tell by that the hood right there. And just crawbush growing up around it. It was just so hard to deal with this because it was just crap everywhere. I think that was I can't remember. I think that was a Roadrunner. But look at them all piled up and behind there. And this guy was way out in the boondocks. And I mean way out in the boondocks. That is a 67 Hemi Satellite. That was, you can see the light in the background. That was about 3 cars in. So a Hemi Roadrunner in front of it. And again, another picture of this building with all the darn parts in it. Look at that NOS stuff there. Like, good God, please let me in that building for just an hour. But I didn't know what to do with it because it wasn't an all or nothing deal, but he just... When you're dealing with these old coots like this, if you buy one car from them, they think they're rich and nothing's for sale for a few months and then you got to come all the way back. So I had to be very careful how I did this. And basically what I did is I didn't, even though I was out there taking pictures and pulling cars, he had no idea that I was back in my van at nighttime selling these cars all at once. Well, thanks for coming by and checking out another Tales from the Bush. And don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help out. We'll see you again soon.